Oh yes,
Okay.
a few years later.
A few years later. What did you do in between?
I dropped out
Go ons.
of art school and I went to Paris.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see some of this on Long Interview in Art Cornwall.
Mm-hmm.
And I lived in 9 Rue Gilles Le Coeur.
Aha, famous address, no?
Next door to William Burroughs.
Burroughs
and
and-
Louise Ginzel and Corsair.
Mm-hmm. And Guyson was around then?
Who?
Was Brian Guyson there at that moment?
Don't know.
Okay.
I was very young and naive
Mm-hmm.
and just took in stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I was painting memories of St. Ives.
Okay. So you were in Paris, living next door to the Beats, but you were painting St. Ives?
That's right.
Okay. And what kind of style of paintings were you making at the time?
Well, I think my first trip to London as an art student, went to the Whitechapel
Mm-hmm.
and saw an exhibition that really resonated on me,
Mm-hmm.
Du Style.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so, Western England was very conservative, and I learnt many lessons, but I didn't understand them until years later.
Mm-hmm.
It planted in me a dissatisfaction for art education,
Mm-hmm.
which was to bloom later.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Du Style got through to me, and I mean, the West of England was all like Slade, Euston Road School and Post-Sickert.
Sure.
And you had all these middle-aged faculty, and of course they were appointed for the reasons people are appointed, to be inside the tradition of the place.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking them about Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't talk about Picasso because they had rejected Picasso.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay,
Interesting.
so that was the beginning of awareness. So I just sort of fumbled my way through from there on.
Did you see at that point any of the other, important exhibitions in London at that period? I'm thinking of This Is Tomorrow at the Whitechapel, or the American painting show that was at the Tate.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't see This Is Tomorrow, but I got to be very familiar with it because I followed what was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and I was certainly aware, one way and the other, of all the discourse.
Mm. How were you following things? Were magazines or publications?
Magazines, publications, and talking to other people.
Mm-hmm. Do you recall what kinds of magazines you were looking at the time, or what was
Yeah.
of interest?
There was Studio International,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a major place. That was like a major place.
Yeah.
And I think Apollo would occasionally
Apollo,
have bits and pieces in
Sure.
the back,
Sure.
and can't remember the names
Sure.
of others.
So you were in Paris for a while, and then
Yes.
you moved here in a more full-time
Well,
fashion.
actually, I took a quick trip to Ibiza.
Oh, really? Okay.
That was before there was an airport.
How did you get to Ibiza?
Hitchhiked.
Okay.
And
why was that? What took you to?
well, because it was
Yeah.
one of these places where writers and and painters would
Yeah.
go in. It was on the sort of underground.
Walter Benjamin had spent a lot of time there through the 30s.
That was later. I knew him here.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wait, Walter Benjamin? You knew? No.
No, sorry,
No.
the artist Benjamin.
Oh, okay.
Not Walter
okay.
Benjamin.
Okay.
No, of course, sorry, no. Anthony Benjamin.
Anthony
Yeah,
Benjamin,
that's,
okay.
That's another story.
Okay. And so you were in Ibiza for a bit, and then
Yeah.
you moved to St Ives, or?
Now I moved back to London.
Okay. And when would this have been
And
around?
I lived on the Portobello Road.
Was this when, around like 1960 or?
When the race rights broke out.
Okay. Okay.
That was on the corner.
Okay.
And then I got down to St Ives.
Okay.
And I lived here for 3 years.
What year did you?
I can't remember exactly, but
Would have been around 1960, I guess.
thereabouts.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Newlyn
Okay. Why was that?
because I could see St Ives was dying.
Okay. But were things going on in Newlyn at that time?
Well, Newlyn wasn't inundated with the tourist trade.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I could see that it was the beginning of paralysis.
Yeah.
And exactly what was going to happen, what happened, I could see in the early days.
Sure.
And I didn't want to deal with it.
Sure. So you got out.
It got too ugly.
Yeah. But why did you stay so close? Why did you wanted to stay in West Cornwall?
I wanted to stay in West Cornwall.
And what was it that was keeping you here?
It was home for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was my identity.
Mm-hmm. And were there artists you were talking to at that point?
I was talking to all of them.
Mm-hmm. So who would that have been?
Oh, all the normal St. Ives school.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Frost, Benjamin. I think I got to be a member of Penrith, which is also very interesting.
Mm.
I think I might have been the youngest member of Penrith
Okay.
at that time.
Okay.
And that was a great education.
Mm-hmm. Education in what sense?
Well, I learned about how people spoke about art, and I learned how people behaved in the art world.
What kind of work was being exhibited at the Penrith at that time?
Oh, all the normal stuff.
Because at this point it would have been running for a dozen years, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And it would have been after Nicholson had left. And
It was after
Hepworth had
Nicholson.
left.
No, Hepworth was around.
Was she still involved?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. I thought she left the society at that point.
No, well, there was trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And she
Sure.
left, but she came back
I see.
months
I see.
later. I mean, by accident, I'm a little bit of walking history, actually.
Mm-hmm.
A fight started. Well, I remember Penrith when it was in 4th Street,
Mm-hmm.
and then they purchased the present
Mm-hmm.
location.
Sure.
And everybody used to send in, but the big boys gradually dropped out
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for diverse reasons,
Sure.
as the gossip was.
Sure.
Peter Lanyon was the power behind the throne in Newlyn.
Mm-hmm.
So he pulled in, so the only two places to exhibit was in Newlyn or Penrith.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a different tradition and a different history that was operative
Sure.
there.
What was the history? Because I suppose I'm more aware of the history over here in St Ives. But what were you encountering when you were in Newlyn? How was the work different?
Well, you had your old time, you had the residue of the old time figurative painters, and figurative art didn't get much of a look in the Penrith.
Sure.
It was really not trendy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I mean, the art world, I learnt about art world fashion and
Mm-hmm.
how it really gets into people's heads
Mm-hmm.
and how they find a niche for themselves,
Mhm.
one way
Sure.
and the other.
Sure.
And it was my graduate school,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but without anybody giving degrees.
And so what was your niche? What niche did you find?
Well, I was a figurative artist,
Mhm.
and I never embraced total abstraction.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the big fight that was going on. I mean, everything was, whether it's abstract or not, and then non-figurative art, or
Mhm.
did it start as an abstract, or did it start as figurative, you know?
Mhm.
And the ideology or the theology was
Mhm.
flying like mad
Mhm.
everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the kind of, those were the options that were in the air.
And to what degree at that point were you aware of or influenced by the kind of writings of the American formalist critics of Greenberg, of Rosenberg?
No, I wasn't aware of them
Mhm.
at that time. We were, it was in St Ives, again, on the ground, that I learned criticism was important.
Mm-hmm.
And I very, very quickly learned there were two kinds of people in the art world.
Mm-hmm.
There were people who read criticism, but there were those that did not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that lesson stayed with me for
Mm.
my whole life.
Mhm.
And that did me very well years later
Mhm.
when I fell into being a critic by accident in
Sure.
publishing.
Sure.
But that taught me that lesson.
Okay. Okay.
I learned in St Ives, you've got to have words with you if you want to be a professional artist.
Mhm. Hmm. And did you, in terms of, say, visitors who are coming to Newlyn and coming to St Ives, you know, that period, of course, there are a number of quite famous international people who came through, but were you aware of, was there a steady traffic of, say, critics, artists coming from London?
Sure, but
Was
you
that
had to
still-
be in the right circles to
Sure.
be invited to the parties.
Yeah.
And I was a fringe kid.
Okay. Was that deliberate?
No.
No? You wanted to be at the parties?
No, I didn't want to be.
You didn't want to be?
I'd have given anything to have been invited.
Okay.
But some artists were infinitely more accessible than others.
Mm-hmm.
And that was to do with personality.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I remember a hilarious time.
Mm-hmm.
It was when Anthony Armstrong-Jones, Lord Snowdon, made his famous book. Have you seen that book?
Yeah, I have seen that.
Well, everybody went berserk
Mm-hmm.
over this. I mean, you would have thought that Obama was visiting or something. It was just like madness.
Mm-hmm.
And the games that people used to play, and certain people were bored and they flew back to be around when Armstrong-Jones was
Okay, well, right.
So I learned this whole business by being a very acute observer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, I was making up my own mind about art, and I wasn't rushing
Mm-hmm.
to arrive anywhere. I was much more interested in finding my steps.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I held on to.
Okay. Were you exhibiting at the time?
Well, I got a show in the Portal Gallery, which is a very small gallery, just off Bond Street.
Okay.
And they showed naive artists, that was their stock in trade. And they took me on, and I had, by the time I was 24, I had 3 sellout shows.
Mm-hmm.
But again, my learning experience at the Portal as an exhibiting artist opened up so much awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So by that time, the pop art thing had started.
Yeah.
And I knew St Ives was dead.
Yeah. At that point. So this
There
was
a
around
famous movie called Pop Goes the Easel.
Ken Russell.
Yeah, and when that came on television, that was it.
When was that? That was around
I don't know
65
dates, I
or
forget
something,
that, yes, but I knew that was the end of St Ives.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that, now I'd had shows and I was hanging out a little bit in London, but I saw the effect of that. And Lawrence Holloway was another one that we used to read.
Sure.
And of course the daily papers were much more into criticism than now.
Yeah.
They were a vital source of
Yeah.
it. And the Sunday supplements had just started, the colour supplements. So I learned a lot by being in London and being a 5-minute wonder.
But how was it for you to be showing at the Portal Gallery, which was exhibiting naive artists?
Yes.
First of all, how did you kind of feel to be within that context? But then,
Well, I didn't care because I wasn't going to go anywhere in St Ives because the orthodoxy precluded me. You know, I mean, the orthodoxy was so deeply rooted. And of course you had innumerable hangers-on or people that, you know, join in. So there was no way, and I mean, I remember right now a funny incident. I came back from London, I seemed pleased myself because I'd made the Times and the Telegraph and all that kind of stuff. And of course St Ives was slightly fashionable, right? So I remember coming back, and then everybody I knew, so I came and sat down at the table. I was in the Castle Inn, and they all got up and moved to another table. I said, what's that? Hey, you know, what's that? We don't talk to chocolate box painters.
chocolate box painters.
Now that was the ultimate negative thing you could say about a figurative artist. And the Penrith Society had this situation of electing the members every year or two, re-electing. And I remember when they kicked out Dodd Proctor, well, who was a fine leftover Edwardian painter, but all the young Turks regarded as being obsolete.
Sure, yeah.
So this is when I learned a certain kind of trendy prejudice.
Sure. But I mean, I don't know what kind of work you were making at the time, but if you were showing in a gallery that was focused on naive I'd imagine the works you were making were some way away from chocolate box painting.
No, they weren't chocolate box painting. They were nowhere near chocolate box painting.
So what were they? What were
Well,
the
they were
works you were making?
sort of. I mean, I like looking at things, and I got my inspiration, but they were kind of slightly abstracted, and but it was an extraction of what I saw, and it was interested in the process of extraction, not in the process of composing to see what you found out. It was more of a voyage of discovery, and by this time I'd given up the thick paint, which I'd done before.
Sure, yeah.
And
were you looking to New York at all at this point?
No,
I mean,
no, it
when
wasn't.
pop was coming in?
no.
So what kind of pop were you looking at?
Well, I mean, there was one show and they had a few, but the big thing was, well, the English pop. Yeah, I got to know Peter Blake slightly when I was showing in the Portal, and Peter was a kind of strange one-off. And though he got incorporated into the pop movement, he was pre-pop.
Sure, yeah.
And he was doing his own thing in a kind of eccentric way. But he was like a prophet.
Yeah.
So it all caught up and absorbed him.
Sure, yeah.
He also visited St. Ives at that time.
Yeah, yeah.
He did a great painting, which was a boy eating a hot dog on Threadneck Hill.
Okay. He was here for a little while, wasn't he?
Yes, yeah. And Joe Tilson was another
Tilson
one.
as well, yeah.
They were mates.
Yeah.
And they talked to me, and I learnt a lot from them. But it was all kind of sort of informal. I mean, the scene was much smaller then, and artists were much more important then than they are now. Because what artists thought was much more important, because you didn't have the whole
market
PR machinery that has grown out of the art world.
And then what happened for you next? You were in this position where you
I
were
got
still
a
relatively young, you were exhibiting quite
I
regularly.
lived down here for 6 years.
Okay.
I had to leave Cornwall, I didn't want to. I had a wife at that time that was desperately unhappy. So I went to London to try and look after that situation. And shortly afterwards I got a Commonwealth scholarship and I went to India.
Okay, right.
And that was such a fantastic experience.
What does a Commonwealth scholarship involve exactly?
Oh, it's like having a residency with money for 2 years.
Yeah.
I was attached to Baroda University, which is one of the modern campuses in India.
Okay. Wow, that must have been
It was fantastic.
incredibly exciting.
Now, understand that I got to know Bernard Leach a little bit in the Penwith,
Okay.
and he took a shine to me. And he
Okay.
used to talk a lot,
Yeah.
and I wasn't a potter.
Yeah.
But I listened, and he said a lot of stuff that I couldn't remember. I didn't know what it really meant. But I learnt what it meant years later. And I learnt a lot from Leach.
What were the important lessons?
Just aesthetics.
And what did that have a particular resonance for you then when you went to India?
Well, not exactly, but I mean, I learnt one lesson in India, which was a simple lesson. I learnt that I didn't know what I didn't know.
You found peace?
No. I learnt to deal with a cultural vacuum, and which maybe in a way joined up with my own personal vacuum.
And what did that have an effect on your work?
Not particularly. But the point was that I felt better about my work at this time because figurative art had returned on the scene and it wasn't deemed obsolete. But I was in no way fired by the concerns of the figurative artist.
Who do you have in mind